Are the tides finally starting to turn when it comes to Ontario real estate? Over the past couple of weeks, Twitter or X has been full of posts about a major market slowdown this April, and posts like this one from John Flynn that talk about pretty strange buyer activity compared to what we're used to over the last few years. Buyers are being very cautious. Just this week, had 2 offers on 2 of my listings. Sellers both made a counteroffer, and both buyers walked after the first counter. So is this a sign that things are starting to turn and buyers will have the upper hand in the very near future? Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Rob Marsiglio, sales representative with Keller Williams Referred Urban. I'm out here in Durham region helping the great people of this part of the province. If you enjoy deep dives into all things Greater Toronto Area real estate stats, this might be the channel for you. If you enjoy this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel because I do something like this every single week for you. In this video, we're going to look at whether or not the tides are actually turning. Do buyers have the upper hand in this market? And we're going to base that on sales activity. What are new listings doing relative to sales? What does showing activity look like over this past week as well? Starting with this tweet from John and my kind of commentary on it. In a lot of markets, this is exactly the way buyers should be acting. Get your terms. And I say this based on the activity that I saw on a couple of listings that I've had in the last little bit, as well as working with buyers in different areas. What has the urgency been like? What have offer nights been like with those buyers lately? And of course, I'm known for tracking the market and putting charts together for X. Compiled a lot of those in this video for you. Let's start with this one that I put out this week, which is reported sales through 21 days of April per Toronto MLS. The reason I do the 21st is just to make sure we have the same amount of weekend and weekdays thrown in there. So it's a relatively fair comparison. Easter in April should be done by now. The latest you will see Easter is right around this time of year. And that's important because the Easter weekend does throw these numbers off a little bit. As you can see here in 2024, these black bars being freehold and the red bars being condo, it is the slowest in terms of the first 21 days for reported sales in April if we throw out 2020. And again, throwing out 2020, it is about the second slowest going back to 2009 on the condo side of things. When we look at these numbers relative to new listings coming out through the first 21 days, again, the freehold market is kind of right down there with about as slow as it has been historically. 2022 was a little slower. 2018 was a little bit slower as well. 2008 was right about the same. When you look at the condo market, it is the slowest, even slower than kind of that brutal start that we saw in 2020, really thanks to COVID shutting the condo market down. That's a look at things relative to previous Aprils, but how are things trending early this year compared to last year? And again, we did see a pretty hot spring market, surprisingly considering where rates were early last year relative to the few years before that. And just to walk you through the chart quickly, Legend is at the bottom here, but this kind of lighter blue line is the freehold market in 2023. This orange line is the condo market in 2023, whereas this black line is the freehold market this year, and the red line is the condo market this year. And you can see that in 2023, both the condo and freehold markets continued to tighten up. The higher these lines go on the chart means the tighter the market is. It's more sales relative to new listings. The blue section up here is a seller's market. We head into a balanced market in the yellow section, and the red section here is a buyer's market. 2023, we saw things really tightening up through the first 4 months of the year, which is why we did see kind of those biggest price jumps that we've really seen in any spring market. But things are a little different in 2024. You can see the freehold market started closer to a seller's market, but is quickly approaching buyer's market territory technically here. The condo market started close to a buyer's market, tightened up a little bit through March, but has now plunged back down through the first 3 weeks of April, back into that technical buyer's market territory. Now, when I say buyer's market, I'm not trying to put it out there that it is a great time for people to be buying. I think we all know affordability with where rates are at, with where prices are at, home prices relative to rates are not great. It's really the worst affordability has been in history. So again, it's a technical buyer's market based on the definition of reported sales as a percentage of new listings being less than 40%. When we zoom out on the same number, sales as a percentage of new listings, and we look at 2024, this orange line, versus where things trend historically, both the average and the median sales as a percentage of new listings, you can see that things do tighten up from January to February in a normal year. And they're really on the tighter side of balance, really leaning towards a seller's market. We haven't had a true buyer's market in the GTA for ages. Things really shift heavily into seller's market territory, again, by this definition, because we see very few listings hit the market in December, and sales take a little bit longer to slow down. That's the same reason that we see this big drop off in January, is because people start bringing properties to market before buyers are out there hunting. What we're seeing this year, though, is really things have continued to loosen up this market since January and trending into buyer's market territory. That's really being accelerated by a massive flood of listings that we saw post-Easter. If this trend continues, it wouldn't be a surprise to see us hit, true buyer's market territory, that sub 40% sales as a percentage of new listings later this spring or summer. And that's reason number one that I think buyers really need to be patient and understand getting your terms is super important in this market. Sales as a percentage of new listings are as low as we've seen them really in ages. There's no pressure on you to make a deal or put a deal together or agree to a seller's terms if they are unrealistic in a market like this. There's never any pressure to cave to sellers' terms in any market. Now, the second reason I think buyers can afford to be patient is because of these numbers right here. Active residential resale housing inventory across the Greater Toronto area. You can see we are not quite back up to the peak levels that we saw in late last year, but early in 2024, relatively early through the first 4 months of the year, the trajectory of new listings and active inventory building up, it's happening at a much higher clip than we saw in early 2023. Things were much flatter, and we really didn't see that uptick in active inventory really until around this time of year. It was late April, early May that we saw active inventory start to pick up. Reason number three that buyers can afford to be a little more patient is that there's just not as much competition for listings as we saw earlier in the year. This is something I've been updating the last couple weeks on this channel. It's the GTA weekly showings per new listing. Again, it's showing data from Broker Bay and listing data from the Toronto MLS. You can see this number has been trending downwards ever since the end of January, and we did hit a year-to-date low of 11.91 showings on Broker Bay per new listings entered into the Toronto MLS. When we break down what the driver for this new low was, is that it was our most active new listings week, according to the Toronto MLS. That's this red line right here. You can see we're right around 4,000, just over 4,000 new listings for the week starting April 14th. But those showing numbers kind of getting down sub 50,000, you're in the high 40,000 range. Whereas, beginning of March was really the busiest in terms of absolute showings, where we were seeing over 50,000 showings that week. The big pushback to all the activity numbers that I'm hearing from people is that, prices are going up. They've gone up since January. Big jump from January to February, smaller jump from February to March. But even from March to April, I think we could be flat to just up a bit in terms of prices. And, there's lots of talk about rate cuts around the corner. People are really worried about prices jumping away. And my answer to that is prices always jump in the spring. And I'm going to illustrate that to you with this next chart. Now, here's a look at the average sale price on a monthly basis. This is as per Treb's Market Watch data. What I've done here is I've highlighted in yellow what the spring market would be. And not just the spring market really, but January is always at the left edge of this pale yellow line. And then the kind of peak of the market in terms of price is at the end of this yellow section. January of 2023, really the biggest jump we saw in a spring market from January to May of that year. Prices went up this year. And again, you can see even in 2020, yes, we did see a correction from March to April that year. But if you go from January and look up to June, prices did jump pretty significantly from just over $800,000 to kind of just shy of $950,000 for the average sale price right across the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. So it's important to remember that, yes, prices always do go up. Last year, prices went up a crazy amount, I think, because the Bank of Canada decided to start holding rates early in the year. This gave buyers some confidence, false confidence, as we later found out that rate cuts were soon around the corner. They really jumped and piled into the market before rates started to be cut, again, out of fear that prices would get away at that time. That's what really drove the market last year. This year, we're still seeing rate holds, but it's not having the same effect on buyer sentiment because rate holds are old news. We've been dealing with that for almost a year now. It's rate cuts that people are looking for now. And that, as we talked about in last week's video, is being pushed further and further out. And again, just to illustrate that point, this is the Bank of Canada's overnight rate history. This is taken from wawa.ca. This little flat section is the early spring market from last year when we saw a rate hold. Prices really did go ballistic, if you will, before we saw two further 25 basis point hikes in June and July. But now, like I've said, it's almost been a year of holding steady at this Bank of Canada rate at 5%. And that's just not doing it for consumers. They're waiting for rate cuts in order to get excited to kind of fuel this market again. But further to that, as we've talked about, I don't feel that rate cuts in the 25, 50, even 100 basis point range will have much effect on affordability. Yes, it may drive consumer confidence, but that fixed rate product that is driven by bond yields will still be lower, even if we see 100 basis points in cuts on the variable side. So I just don't see that as being a major bull case short term for prices in the Greater Toronto Area. Bottom line, I hope I've made my case as to why I think practicing patience, just walking away as a buyer if you're not getting the terms you like, is a great strategy in this market. There are still more things in my eyes that are putting downward pressure on home prices. Again, I'll never tell somebody not to buy, never tell somebody not to rent. You need to make a decision based on your budget, what works right for you, what's best for your family. This is just what I'm seeing, and I hope that it helps you make the right decision. I hope you got some value out of this video. Like I said, I do something like this every single week. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything like this one going forward. Thank you so much for sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Till we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.